I went through like an existential crisis, which turned into some kind of like exploration, really. I had some hiccups, you know, some judgment error.
Shia LaBeouf is easily one of the more unique talents in the realm of Hollywood, mainly because no one exactly knows what is going on in his head at any given moment. He started off as a child star on Disney Channel, but then transitioned into major films, had a mental breakdown, and then started doing very critical acclaimed films via his performances. But behind the scenes, he's said to be not the best. Which brings us to his ex-girlfriend, who is currently suing him for abuse. How did this all happen? Allow us to show you the news about FKA Twigs and Shia LaBeouf. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 6. The Accusation.
FKA Twigs has filed a lawsuit against ex-boyfriend Shia LaBeouf for alleged abuse during their one-year relationship.
To understand this story, we first need to go to the accusations that were put against him back in late 2020. FKA Twigs sued her ex-boyfriend Shia LaBeouf, accusing the actor of sexual battery, assault, and infliction of emotional distress. The musician who filed the lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court and the actor had dated for about 1 year in 2018 and 2019 after working together on the film Honey Boy. Shia LaBeouf hurts women, states the lawsuit, obtained by Variety. He uses them. He abuses them, both physically and mentally. He is dangerous. The lawsuit lays out a slew of horrific allegations, painting a lurid picture of LaBeouf, an artistically outlandish artist, whose work has been praised despite a long history of legal issues often overshadowing his career. She's going so far as to demand that she gets a jury trial to help ensure that her story is heard. And as was revealed by her and her team, there was a lot to tell. 5. Stories of Shia's abuse.
He was threatening to crash the car unless I said I loved him and ended up basically strangling me.
According to her, she was once woken up by Shia LaBeouf towering over her, violently squeezing her arms against her and choking her. The alleged incident occurred during a trip to celebrate Valentine's Day in 2019, and as he was strangling her, the lawsuit claims, he was whispering, "If you don't stop, you're gonna lose me." After the alleged incident, LaBeouf became manic while driving back to his home. Barnett tried to get out of his car, and as he threatened to crash the car unless she professed her internal love for him, and though he briefly stopped at a gas station, he violently attacked her, throwing her against the car, screaming in her face and attempting to strangle her, before forcing her to get back in the car. After the alleged altercation, Barnett texted a close friend, writing, "This is difficult to say, but I'm sure you know. I've been in this abusive relationship that has isolated me. It's worse than you can imagine." When filming The Tax Collector, LaBeouf got so into character, according to the lawsuit, he took on the role of a gangster in real life, and claimed to drive around Los Angeles shooting stray dogs dead, so that he can get into the mindset of a killer. Barnett, an animal lover, was profoundly disturbed and terrified. LaBeouf continuously belittled his then-girlfriend, and is accused of having frequent rage and bouts of jealousy, even accusing her of dwelling on her former fiancé, actor Robert Pattinson, the lawsuit states. LaBeouf was so possessive, he would count the number of kisses she would give him on any given day, and berate her if it wasn't enough. So clearly, this was a very disturbing relationship if FKA Twigs is to be believed, which evidence points to that she should be believed. But of course, there are two sides to every story. 4. LaBeouf's reply.
You seem to have gone crazy since the last time I saw you. Is that
does
true?
seem that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have.
Naturally, it was only a matter of time before Shia LaBeouf was going to come out and say something on the matter. But while he hasn't come out to terms to fully address everything, he did make one statement that was very curious. LaBeouf said not all the allegations were true. In an email statement to the New York Times, which also reported, he said, "I'm not in any position to tell anyone how my behavior made them feel. I have no excuses for my alcoholism or aggression, only rationalizations. I've been abusive to myself and everyone around me for years. I have a history of hurting the people closest to me. I'm ashamed of that history, and I'm sorry to those I hurt. There's nothing else I can really say." There's a lot to break down there. The key thing though is that he said not all the allegations were true, which seems to imply that some of them actually are true, to the extent that he had to classify the things that he had done wrong in his life, and that he had no excuse for them. But he was able to cover himself partially by stating that he wasn't in any position to tell how people were made to feel by him. Curious words indeed. 3. New testimony.
It's not one thing, it's loads of tiny little things that get sewn together into a nightmare.
Fast forward to 2021, and FKA Twigs had a lot more to say on everything that was going on with her and Shia, including how everything started and how it all fell apart. "I was always told that, I was special and to look after my heart and to look after the light inside my chest. And when I was with Shia, that light got blown out. And I just didn't think that would happen," she told CBS Morning co-host Gayle King. FKA Twigs said that she met LaBeouf in 2018 when she made her acting debut in Honey Boy, a film LaBeouf wrote about his childhood. The two began a troubled romance that lasted just under a year, a relationship that she said had red flags from the start. In the beginning, he would come. He would almost actually would jump over the fence where I was staying and leave flowers outside my door, and poems, and books, and I thought it was very romantic. But that quickly changed, FKA Twigs said. I understand now that's testing your boundaries. Instead of me thinking, oh, this is nice to have flowers outside my door, now I think that's inappropriate to jump over the fence of where I'm living. That's breaking a boundary, but it didn't stop there. His behavior became gradually more and more abusive. 2. More and more abuse.
Start accusing me of doing all sorts of things, planning to leave him in my head. He'd wake me up and tell me I was disgusting.
She wasn't done with her tales though, as if she had more instances of Shia going over the edge. Abusers use gaslighting, which is where somebody minimizes your experience. It's like altering your narrative or not listening to you, and denying your experience, and eventually it did become physical. There were certain instances where he would push me, and they would say you fell, and I would get really confused, and I would think, maybe I did. One example of things going wrong was a trip to a spa. We had, around Valentine's Day, we had a really disturbing trip to a spa in the desert, but it just descended into one of the worst, long weekends that I had in the whole of my life. It resulted in him speeding down the motorway and saying that if I left him, or if I said that I didn't love him, and if I was gonna leave him, that he would smash the car into the side of a wall. And I thought, wow, we need so much control over me that he would rather kill us both. And eventually he pulled over into a gas station, and he tried to unload my bags from the car. There were 3 men opposite the car, and I remember thinking, this is it. I was like, this is it, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And he picked me up, and he threw me against the car and started strangling me. And that's when I realized I needed to get help to get out of this relationship. 1. PTSD.
A few months after I started that process, I was able to leave, and leave for good.
Anyone going through a relationship like that is gonna have scars, especially emotional ones. And for FKA Twigs, that's exactly what happened. For a long time, anything that woke me up in the night, even if it was just a dog or noise outside, or just needing to go in the bathroom, it could trigger a really intensive panic attack. I was left with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, from that. Which again is just something I don't think we talk about much as a society, just in terms of the healing when leaving, and how much work has to be done to recover, to get back to the person that you were before. She's still struggling with everything that happened to her, and that's why she's trying to sue Shia and get some kind of justice and payment so that she won't have to fear and others won't have to go and deal with this anymore. We'll just have to see which way everything goes. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the relationship between FKA Twigs and Shia LaBeouf and how things are going to be going to court? Can you believe the things that happened to her because of being with Shia? Which element do you personally feel was the worst of it? Will Shia get his just desserts before long? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.